commissioned officer, there's different rankings, and it's not like stripes. You get like you start off as I forget but whatever you could. There's a different like when you take tests to go higher on the pay scale and the rank scale.
Yeah.
Their ranking is different than a non-commissioned officer, which is stripes basically.
So if you
You
had
can
a
become
degree,
like a master sergeant. You get a patch with like stripes on it. But if you're a commissioned officer, you get bars or stars. Like if you're a general or it's just a different ranking system.
so you could you kind of go higher, I guess, if you're commissioned.
Well,
Yeah,
you're
whatever.
already higher because even when you're first
Yeah, yeah.
ranked, you're higher than the guy with a million stripes.
So if you just have a degree, you're still higher than the
Yeah, I don't know
the
exactly.
highest non-commissioned.
I don't know how it works financially, but yeah, I mean, it's
they
better to be
value
a commissioned
education.
officer. Yeah,
Do you ever think
it's
there
more
was,
of a status thing in the service. Like I said, like you're not allowed to almost even socialize with these people.
Mhm.
They have their own club, you have your own club, and it's. I'm not sure if it's like that now.
So it was like, you think the commission looked down upon?
Yeah.
The non-commissioned.
Yeah, you felt kind of.
Was there any specific examples of it besides the club?
Well, the club, you couldn't go into it. I mean, you were warned not to associate with them. I can't remember
Did
because
they
it
want
was
you to
so long
associate with
ago.
them? Why?
Well, you couldn't date them.
Oh,
You weren't
okay.
supposed to
Well,
date a commissioned officer if you were non-commissioned.
Why?
I have no
I
idea.
didn't know why. All right.
They're big on that. Like even in basic training, one of the big things was they called it PDA, public display of
Yeah.
If you got caught doing that, you get set back to day one.
No, I
Even
just found
talking, you weren't allowed to talk to a female. Say hi. You weren't even allowed to say hi. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, basically.
I just find the commission that's
Yeah,
like an
it was
arbitrary line.
interesting.
Yeah. All right. Did you receive a degree during your time?
No, I didn't take advantage of the school.
Well, I know you got degrees. Did they help you get a degree after, or was you were gone? They didn't help you because you were out of the Air Force, pretty much.
I'm not, I'm not sure how that worked. I just ended up going to school right after. So
Where'd you go?
I went to East Coast Aerotech, which is a technical school in Lexington, Belmont area, Massachusetts, and to work for an airlines as a mechanic, you have to take a government test
Yeah,
through the A&P.
for a license.
Yeah, you have to get your aircraft, power plant, and general license to be able to work it for a major airlines. So that's what I did. I went to tech school. That was like a year and a half or whatever. But I kept with the crew.
And that was for airplanes.
Yeah, it was for everything, not just jet engines, aircraft, jet engines, the whole thing,
Oh, okay.
the whole aircraft.
All right.
But when I
so
got out, there was no jobs.
you stayed for 4 years, right? So you left in 1984.
Yeah.
All right. Why didn't you choose to stay?
It wasn't for me.
So you weren't a huge fan of it, or you just thought you would do
I think I
better?
was still homesick a little bit. I had no intention of staying any longer. I don't even know why. I just wanted to move on.
All right. What was the first thing you did when you left? Was go to school?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you able to Did you live at that school?
I did.
You
I
did?
didn't live at the school. They didn't have.
Where'd you get your money? Was it saved up from the Air Force to live?
My parents helped me a little bit. I took loans out from the school.
But what about living?
But my parents
an
pretty
apartment
much.
and stuff. Your parents
My
helped with
parents
that?
helped with that. They paid for that. I lived in basically I lived in this woman, older lady, had a house, and she had it separated. So
Mhm.
she had her own side and then another side, and she would have let's see,
I think you've told me that.
4 people, four of us from the school were living there. So she was making money,
Yeah, yeah.
pretty good money. I mean, from 4 people. I forget what we paid. It wasn't like insane, but I think it was like $250 a month or something crazy like that. But all you had was a room.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you weren't allowed to have a TV in your room. I mean, there was some weird. I mean, I shared a room with another kid who ended up my good friend.
So after East Coast Stereotypes, were you able to get a job right away?
Yeah, I got hired right out of school, but it was more of it was on mechanic on steam turbines.
So not airplanes, but
No,
where was that?
But it was GE. I mean, it could have
It was
been on
GE.
airplanes.
So your first job was GE?
Yeah.
Do you feel
But
like
I only worked there for like 3 months, and then
Do
I
you feel
got a
like
job for Sikorsky.
there was high demand for like your job? Did you feel like you had a lot of competition to like compete, or you feel like
With other schools, you mean?
no, like with other like people, like were there a lot of people doing what you were doing?
At E? GE?
No, just like not competition there, but like
The
to get
school
a
in
job.
general?
No, just like get a job.
Uh,
Do you feel like it was like a
Oh, it helped me, definitely. I mean, I ended up getting a good job because I went to that school.
no? I'm saying like, do you feel there are a lot of people like competing for like those jobs? Or you feel like it was kind of open, not that many people were doing it? That's kind of what I'm trying to get at.
When I first went in, it was there was a kind of a high demand.
Yeah. So not that
But
many
when I
people.
graduated, it had slowed down. The
Okay.
airlines were going through a kind of a tough time.
Okay.
I mean, there was opportunities. You could. I knew a bunch of guys that went to Saudi Arabia for a year.
To work for like
A lot of people were doing that.
really?
Well, they would pay you. Back then, I think they were paying like $50,000 a year to go to Saudi Arabia.
Really?
But you didn't have to pay for any food, anywhere to live, and they gave you like 3 round trip tickets home.
So it's kind of just like
So basically, you
bonus,
could save
$50,000.
$50,000. I knew a guy that did it for 2 years. He saved a bunch of money.
yeah. All right. So these are more like big picture, I guess, questions. Like 40 minutes. All right. So as of 2014, there are 326, 259,000 people in the Air Force. Obviously, that's not like everybody active, but like reserves and stuff too. As opposed to in 1980 when they were 557,000 people or around that in the Air Force. Do you believe, or as someone who's like been through it, do you believe that it's a good thing that the amount of people in the military is like getting smaller?
Yeah. No, I think it's a good thing because, I mean, hopefully, I don't know, I'll say it again, but hopefully we evolve as humans and don't need to fight wars anymore.
Mhm.
That's what I hope for. But
All right. As an
what was that? What was that question?
I was basically I talked about how it's gone. The amount of people
Oh,
in the Air
I
Force
think a
has
lot
gone
of
down
that is
almost
too. I know
200,000.
what I was thinking. I think a lot of that had to do with back then. That was like around the Cold War time, so the military budget was a lot higher too.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but I'm assuming that it was because after the Cold War, there was a lot of slashes in military.
Yeah. Okay. So as a member of the Air Force, did you believe you were doing an important work?
I did, yeah.
Mhm.
No, I felt like I mean, working on jets, and then I went to, I worked for a couple of defense contractors like Sikorsky helicopters and GE, where you had to have a badge and go through security, and so of course it makes you feel a little
Yeah.
proud of yourself.
All right. According to the Air Force Officer's Guide, you should keep informed on politics, and it is your duty to vote. But on active duty, you should not speak about your personal views on political policy. If you cannot support established policy, you should try and take the honorable course and resign your commission. As a former service member do you believe, or do you agree with the rule that you shouldn't be able to be allowed to talk about politics if you're like as a member?
I don't see why you can't have a conversation with a friend about politics.
No, like on active duty.
Well, you're kind of always on active duty.
Yeah,
one
that's
of the things.
well, like, what exactly is active duty? It's just like while you're there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So, like, do you think people should be allowed to talk about politics while they're there?
I think so, but I mean,
Obviously, I'm not. I'm not
back
100
when I
percent
was
sure if this is a concrete rule now.
yeah, back when I was
But-
younger though, people didn't really talk about. I mean, I think we were all kind of on the same page.
It was Reagan.
We
right?
supported the president.
It was Reagan.
Yeah,
Right.
we were young. I mean, I was young. I was 18. I mean, I just turned 18 basically, so it wasn't like we didn't do a lot of political discussions. I don't think, pretty much. I don't remember talking about politics very much.
All right. So the Cold War was still going on while you were serving. It was. I mean, obviously, it was starting to go down.
Mhm.
1980s, they collapsed soon. So was there a lot of mention of the Soviet Union,
Oh yeah,
like in the military?
Yeah.
Were they
Well, we were
considered,
always
like, your biggest,
skeptical
like your
of
biggest
them.
enemy.
yeah, they were the biggest enemy.
Did your officers ever go like you got to be ready if the Soviets attack, or like stuff like that?
No, I think it was just implied.
Like the
I mean, if
like
there
you were
was
there
ever-
to like protect like, or they were that was like the military's like main
Yeah.
I guess thing at that time.
Except for like again when we talk a few things in the Middle East, like the Libya.
So, you said there was like it was starting like budget cuts were happening. Was
Like I'm going back a long time, so I can't remember the exact thing.
I can try.
But
and
I know when I
confirm
was
it, but
when I was at GE,
were
which
people
was
getting laid off?
probably 5 years after I graduated from tech school. That's when it really started to hit. The Cold War was ending, and
So
layoffs like
people were
every
getting
3
laid off a
months.
lot?
Oh, lots of people. Yeah,
You never.
we probably lost.
Did it ever affect you?
Yeah, I eventually got laid off.
You got laid off because of budget cuts.
Yeah, basically.
Mhm.
Well, it's a long story. My thing had to do with, this has nothing to do with this, but they called us in and told us when I was working at GE because it was so bad, the layoffs, but they told us where we stood. Like they told you if you were on the low level,
Like high risk, like low risk.
yeah,
Like
which I don't think you could do today. But so they told you like if you were low, they said, in other words, it's probably a good idea to start looking for a job because eventually your number's going to come up.
Mhm.
Then medium
those are just
was
like numbers. They just like.
no, it was low, medium, or high.
But like you said, like your number's gonna come up. Does that just mean like?
If there was
Like
a certain
like
amount
a
of
literal
layoffs,
number?
the chances of you getting laid off was high. So they were basically telling people to look for. They were
Look for
giving them an
work, okay.
opportunity to look for jobs before they got laid off.
So you,
I was told I was high, so I had nothing to ever worry about.
and they
Me and this other kid.
cut you.
But then what happened is there was this big GE was in trouble for age discrimination.
Favoring young people, or
But yeah, laying off people that had making more money in years of, they had some lawsuits basically. So then they came back and me and this other kid that was high, basically we were let go.
so
Because
you-
they took people off. They were told that, I mean, I know this for a fact, they were told to re-look at the people they were laying off and to be careful not to, which was okay for me because I would have felt bad anyway because I knew a couple guys that had families and had been there for, they were like in their
That got laid off.
50s. No, they didn't get laid off. They were saved.
but
which
you,
I
you
was
would've
okay
rather,
with
You would have
because
rather than
I didn't
like,
have
cut
a
you
fam-
without a family.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
I really didn't care.
Yeah. So you believe that could have been because
Plus,
of the budget cuts?
to be honest with you, they gave me a bunch of money. I was going to college at night, so it was hard. So when they laid me off, I was almost glad because they gave me. First of all, they gave me 3 months. I don't even need that. They gave me 3 months to look for a job, but I
Yeah,
was employed by GE still.
So they were.
So
paying
I
you
was
for a
getting
couple
paid
months.
every week. So what I
So
did
they helped
is,
you out.
huh?
They helped you out pretty much.
Oh yeah, because they had to. If you lay off more than 1,000 people, which they had done
Yeah, well, you're
on that one hit,
company.
yeah. So when they laid off 1,000 people, you have to. Back then, I don't know, but they had to help you out, I guess.
So you believe that was in part due to them not getting enough money from like the